Hello and welcome to Mathematical Coaching Center. Today in this video we'll continue our discussion on ratio and proportion, and today we'll start with proportion. Okay, we'll start our discussion on proportion. This is the third part of the video, and if you have not seen the first two part, the link will be given in the description. But before we start, my name is Umang Khawas, and if you have any problem in learning mathematics, then consider subscribing this channel. You can also connect me through other social sites like Facebook and Instagram. So let's begin. So let us see what is a proportion. Okay, so equality of two ratios is called proportion. If there are two ratios and if they are related with an equality sign, it is said to be proportion. So two ratios with an equality sign. So let us see further. If there are four quantities which are non-zero, a, b, c and d, they are said to be in proportion if a is to b is equals to c is to d. Okay, so here are two ratios, a is to b and c is to d. Okay, so these are two ratios which are related with an equality sign. So at that point of time we say it is in proportion. Okay, so what are the four quantities? A, b, c and d. Okay, a is to b, c is to d. We directly go like this. Okay, a is to b, c is to d, and there will be an equality sign in between. So this is proportion. So that is, if we change this into fraction form, we get something like this. A is to b is a by b. This is equal to c is to d is c by d. Okay, we can write it in this form also. It is the same thing. So, or we can write it as a is to b, c is to d, and there will be a sign like this in place of proportion sign, in place of equals to. It just means it is an equality sign. Okay, mostly in books also you will be seeing this expression. Okay, and this means it is equals to only. So let us see an example. We have 2 is to 3 is equals to 6 is to 9. Since if we convert this into fraction, we see 2 by 3, 2 is to 3 is 2 by 3, and 6 is to 9 is 6 by 9. So if we cancel this by 3, so 3 2 is 6, 3 3 is 9. So finally what we get is 2 is to 3 only after cancellation. That means these two ratios are equal. Okay, so these two ratios are equal. Okay, if the two ratios are equal, what we say, the term that is there, the four terms that we have, 2 3 6 and 9, they are said to be proportion. They are said to be in proportion. Okay, so 2 3 6 and 9 are in proportion. Okay, so let us see few terms relating with proportion. So fourth proportion. So if four quantities that should be non-zero, a, b, c and d are in proportion. Suppose a, b, c, d are in proportion. That means a is to b will be equal to c is to d. So a is to b, c is to d. So the ratio will be equal, and this fourth term that we have is known as the fourth proportion. This is known as the fourth proportion. So in a proportion, the fourth term is known as the fourth proportion. Okay, and this is important because there might be a question, okay, where you need to find the fourth proportion. Okay, the question will say find the fourth proportion. So this term is important. So let us see an example. 2 is to 3 and 6 is to 9. If we write it into a fraction form, we get something like this. Okay, and the term 9, okay, is known as the fourth proportion. Then 9 is known as the fourth proportion. Okay, moving on, let us now see what is a continued proportion. So what is a continued proportion? The non-zero quantities a, b and c are in continued proportion. There are three terms a, b and c. They are all non-zero and they are said to be in continued proportion if and only if a is to b is equals to b is to c. Okay, so here a is to b, but we'll again repeat with b only. B is to c. So a is to b is equals to b is to c. So there are two ratios with an equality sign, so it is proportion. Here it is known as continued proportion because we are repeating the terms. Okay, so a is to b, again b is to c, and so on like that. So if you change that into fraction form, this is what we get. A by b is equals to b by c. But this is not only possible with three terms, it may be with more terms also. So if we have more than three terms, like they are non-zero quantities a, b, c, d, e and f, they are said to be in continued proportion. Okay, they are said to be in continued proportion if and only if we have the ratios a is to b is equals to b is to c is equals to c is to d is to d is to e is equals to e is to f. So here also we see that we are repeating the terms. So here we a is to b, a is to b, b is to c, b is to c, c is to d, c is to d, again with d is to e, d is to e, again with e is to f. So there will be a term that is being repeated, b, b, c, c, d, d, e, e. Okay, so this is what happens in continued proportion, but that was not the case in proportion. It was directly like a is to b is equals to c is to d is equals to e is to f and so on. If it is just a proportion, we just write a is to b is equals to c is to d is equals to e is to f. But in continued proportion, we repeat the terms. Okay, a is to b and again b is repeated, b is to c, again c is repeated and so on like that. So that is the basic difference between proportion and continued proportion. So if we change that into fraction form, this is what we get: a is to b, a by b, okay, b is to c, b by c, c is to d, c by d, d is to e is d by e, and e is to f is e by f, and so on. Okay, so this is in continued proportion. So let us see an example. So here 2 is to 4 is equals to 4 is to 8. So this 4 is being repeated. Okay, so if we change that into fraction form, this is 2 by 4 is 4 by 8, because they two are equal. Since if we cancel this, we'll be getting half, and if we cancel this, 4 1s are 4, 4 2s are 8, we'll getting half, we'll be getting half. So both are half, that means they are equal. So here the term 4 is being repeated, here the term 4 is being repeated. So we say that 2, 4, 8 are in continued proportion, they are in continued proportion. Okay, so let us here also let us see a few terms that is related with continued proportion. So if a, b, c are in continued proportion, then okay, so if they are in continued proportion, it will be a is to b will be equals to b is to c. So at that time, the term a is known as the first proportional, it is known as the first proportional. Okay, this, the term a is known as the first proportional. The term c is known as the third proportional, it is known as the third proportional, and the term b is known as the mean proportional. The first one is known as the first proportional, the third one is known as the third proportional, and the middle one is known as the mean proportion. These are the terms that are related with continued proportion. And this is also important because there might be a question where you need to find third proportion or mean proportion or the first proportion. Okay, suppose now if a, b and c are in continued proportion, what do we have? We have a is to b is equals to b is to c. If we change this into fraction form, what do we get? A by b is equals to b by c. If we cross multiply this, okay, b into b, that will give us b square, and a into c is ac. So this is what we get: b square is equals to ac. So after square rooting both the sides, we'll be getting b is equals to ac. This is how a mean proportional, that is b is the mean proportion. Okay, mean proportion is related with the first and the third proportion. Okay, so the mean proportional is related with, this is the first and this is the third proportional. This is how they are related. Okay, so these are the few things that you need to know in proportion, and in the next video we'll be discussing few properties on proportion, and we'll also try to solve few problems. So to stay updated, subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification bell. Thank you for watching and have a good day.